Hello, this is Beyond the Myth with Dylan White. I'm joined by Ed Opperman. Ed, how you doing?
Good. Beyond the Myth. You changed your name?
Yeah, I changed my name.
Okay.
The Truth Speaks was a temporary name that I made up a year ago and was just too lazy to change.
Well, I thought I was booked on Beyond the the Truth Speaks. Okay, that's all right. I'll go with it. Yeah, Vic changed the name of her show too. It's Talking Back now. It's called.
Whose?
Victoria, my daughter.
Oh, she has a show again?
Well, she's taken some time off because we had that really rough year with all the custody stuff going on.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, it's all done now. We won. We got full custody, and she's here 5 days a week now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Happy for you guys.
Dude, we're so relieved. You have no idea. So thank God.
Yeah, I know she was going through a lot about that.
Oh, my God. It was horrible. And so all that's done, and she's going to be doing a show, a little podcast. It's going to be in my members section because now I have a members section in OppermanReport.com where I do extra shows that are totally under my own control. I record them myself, and I put them in the members section. People sign up, and they can go in there. We had documents and stuff to the interviews, so that's working out great. So she's going to be in there, and then she's going to go on one of those podcast stations and do like a podcast.
Oh, cool.
That's the plan.
I'll have to see if I can contact her and get back on there.
Okay.
Sorry, we got sidetracked again.
That's okay.
We're going to talk about Donald Trump because why not? Everyone else is.
Yeah, Donald Trump.
He's a character.
Yeah, I would say he's a character. I would say he's a character for sure. So you got to remember, Dylan, I'm from New York City.
So, yep, and my entire family comes from New York as well.
Okay, well, you may not be able to tell because I've lost my New York accent. But
not all of it.
Not all of it? Okay, good. So I grew up in Staten Island, and that's where, most people don't realize about Donald Trump is that he inherited his money. Okay, he's not a self-made man by any stretch of the word. He inherited his fortune from his dad, Fred Trump. And
yeah, $400 million, right?
Yeah, there you go. And most of that was from properties on Staten Island, where I grew up. So it was two-family homes. And if you want to look, when Trump says he's going to make America great again, I know.
Sorry, I can't help but laugh every time I hear that.
I know. Just Google the Tyson Parks apartment in Newdorp, Staten Island, and you'll see those are the homes. That's Trump. That's where the Trump fortune comes from these tenements with these fire escapes out in front of them. And even if you go to their rental website right now where they promote their apartments, they got pictures of these apartments. They got 20-year-old stoves, 20-year-old refrigerators in these apartments, man.
So that company hasn't gone bankrupt like the rest of his?
Actually, they sold. Trump Properties no longer controls Tyson Park Apartments. But you're correct. That's a whole other thing about Trump that people need to realize is that he's had 4 bankruptcies.
5.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, a bunch of bankruptcies, man. No joke with this guy. And also too, he doesn't pay his bills anyway. When he does these projects and he has these contractors, he doesn't pay them. And then he tells them, okay, take me to court. You'll get pennies on the dollar. And he settles with everybody. And he's been doing that kind of stuff for years, since the 80s.
I'm not surprised.
Yes.
I was arguing with somebody who said Trump going bankrupt 5 times gives him qualification to be president.
You know what? In a lot of ways it does, because he definitely knows how to steal money. But
yeah, and he definitely knows how to threaten people.
Right, with the lawsuits and stuff, too. But besides the failed businesses, the guy's had 2 failed marriages. And
I thought it was 3.
Well, no, he's married. This is the 3rd one he's married to now. He has a kid he doesn't talk to. This girl, Tiffany, from the Marla Maples marriage. He doesn't talk to her. You never see her on the Apprentice or any of these TV shows. She's nowhere to be seen.
Well, the former Apprentice.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he lost that. But I think he has some kind of ownership deal in that, too. So I just think he's just not allowed to be on it anymore.
Which is awesome. His own TV show, and he got banned from it.
That's nothing new, because he's been banned from managing his own casinos and stuff.
Oh, of course. Who would trust a guy to run a business when he's gone bankrupt 5 times?
Well, again, to the point of, Trump, the great businessman. Okay, I don't know if you know who Merv Griffin is, do you?
No.
Okay, back in the 70s, There was this guy, this singer. He sang this song called "I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts." I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Okay, so you gotta Google it one day. That's how this guy got famous, Merv Griffin. Then he had the Merv Griffin talk show in the afternoons back in the 70s. When I was a kid, I'd come home from school. You watch Merv Griffin. He has like Tony Randall on there. You know, these guests. You know, people you'd see like on the old Lucy show. You know. So, but Merv Griffin, okay. If Donald Trump is such a great businessman, how did Merv Griffin, this character from the 70s talk show from I Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts, how did he outsmart Trump out of $50 million? Because he owned Resorts International before Donald Trump did. And he sold it to Trump for $50 million, and Trump ran it into the ground. Merv Griffin's sitting on a ton of cash right now, and Donald Trump has nothing from those casinos.
How did somebody outsmart Trump? Use one brain cell? Use two, maybe?
And it's even more interesting, too, because you got to know the story about the Merv Griffin, because it turns out, and we didn't know when we were kids watching him on TV, but it turns out he was a homosexual. And there used to be this TV, you know the movie Saturday Night Fever? With John Travolta? Okay. The character that movie is based on is a guy from Brooklyn named Denny Terrio. And Merv Griffin developed a crush on this guy, became obsessed with him, and he gave him a TV show called Dance Fever. And Denny Terrio wound up suing Merv Griffin all the time for sexual harassment and chasing him around the office. So meanwhile, you got Merv Griffin, I Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts, chasing around his
that song just becomes even more awesome once you know that story.
He's chasing around his little disco dancer around his office, and meanwhile negotiating with Trump and taking him for his pants. You can't make this stuff up.
Maybe literally.
Yeah, right. Who knows what those two. But growing up in New York City, and you know me, I had a nightclub in New York. So my first contact with Trump, I used to go down to Atlantic City all the time to watch the fights. So I've seen him at the casinos in New York City at the fights and stuff like that at a distance, where we never met, we were never introduced or anything like that. I guess it was around 85, 87. I had a situation in my life where I needed I needed the assistance of the NYPD to go and roust this guy that was causing me trouble. Okay, all right. So I went.
You're gonna have to tell me the full story later.
I've told the story, but I kind of now there's a little more publicity on me. I want to keep it a little bit cool. But,
okay, just tell me when we're done.
Yeah, but so what happened was I needed the cops to go and roust this guy, and I knew a source at NYPD who could make that happen, and I knew he could make that happen because at the time he was doing it for the Trump organization. There was a situation going on in boxing and stuff like that, and a certain guy was causing trouble, and he was getting rousted and busted by the cops every day. So I said to him, I said, hey, I need you to take care of this problem for me. And he goes, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I said, what is that? I know you can do it because you're doing it for Trump, and you're doing it for this guy, And he goes, oh, no, we're not. No, we're not. That guy's a pimp. That guy's a drug dealer. He's getting busted on his own. That's nothing to do with us. I says, all right. So I tell him this little funny story about my connection to Trump. Because what happened was back in the 80s, one day I went out. I used to hang out with a lot of flight attendants. I used to fly back and forth the country a lot. So I got to know, living in New York City and stuff like that, I got to know some flight attendants who had an apartment in Manhattan. So there was this big scandal in the news that Donald Trump took his wife, Ivana, skiing. And it was on the front page of the Inquirer. All the tabloids were there, the Globe and everything like that, because what happened was his girlfriend, Marla Maples, showed up on the ski slopes and confronted him in front of his wife. And they had pictures of the three of them in this big fight on the ski slopes. Trump gets divorced, or starts going through a divorce, and there's this huge public scandal with this woman, Marla Maples. So what happened was Marla Maples had to go into hiding. And as fate would have it, as coincidences happen, she was hiding out. When I went out with the friends, my friends, these flight attendants, they said, you'll never guess who's staying at our apartment. And I said, who? They said, Marla Maples. I said, Marla Maples? You got to be kidding. What's she doing there? Well, she's hiding out from the paparazzi. So, and they said that she went over there to hide out, and she came in with all her clothes and garbage bags, and she was just hiding in this little room in the apartment. She wasn't coming out. okay, ducking from the paparazzi. So I said, as a joke, I said, well, we should tap the phones over there. We could sell it to the National Enquirer. We could make a fortune. So we never actually did that. But the point is what happened was I told this to this cop. I told him this joke, just like I told you this joke. It's a funny little joke. I'm not going to do anything. And somehow the story got back to Trump. And what must have happened is he must have pulled a whole dossier and did a whole investigation on me. Because what happened was I was at the U.S. Open a few months later, maybe about a year later. It was the day right after Princess Diana died. And I'm at the U.S. Open, which is this big tennis match in New York City. They used to have it at the Shea Stadium, but then they built this stadium just for this tennis match. They only hold once a year. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm a stone's throw away from Donald Trump. And everybody's supposed to be looking down at the tennis match. But Donald Trump is standing up in his box, staring right at me throughout this whole freaking match, giving me dirty looks through this whole. It got so bad, man, that I couldn't even look away from the tennis match, even to the side a little bit, because Trump was staring right at me. So they had to tip him off about this. So that's my big story about being connected to Donald Trump. As far as all this information I've been digging up on other cases, like Jeffrey Epstein and Adnon Kashogi, that Trump just happens to constantly be popping up in.
Trump is a very, I don't know if popular is the right word, but he just seems to know everything wrong with people. And he seems to always be involved in the worst aspects of people.
Yeah, he's a flamboyant character, and he knows how to get media attention. And he's built up this name, the Trump brand, as some kind of this billionaire guy, whatever. And that's how he got the show The Apprentice. And that's how he gets all these licensing and endorsement deals, because he doesn't really run most of these businesses or these properties that you see his name on. He only licenses his name on that property, and someone else runs it. And he gets a percentage just for the use of his name.
Man, when you're so powerful that you can do that, but such an idiot that you still managed to go bankrupt 5 times.
Well, you know
How
what?
do you think you have qualifications to be president of the United States?
You know what? I don't think he believes he has qualifications to be president of the United States. I just think he's just enjoying the ride. But
I'm enjoying the ride.
yeah, so am I. I have to admit it. When the guy's making prank phone calls on TV, he's giving away people's phone numbers. It's just one day he's insulting Mexicans, the next day he's insulting veterans, the next day he's giving away making prank phone calls on TV.
Man, we've been in his candidacy for a month, and he's lied about the number of people in his audience.
Yeah,
he's called Mexicans rapists. He's called out John McCain for being captured, and he publicly doxes Lindsey Graham.
I love that, man. Well, you know what I found out too is when he did that announcement where he's calling the Mexicans rapists, he had paid those people to be in that audience. That was a paid.
Yeah, and he still had to lie about how many people were there.
Yeah, well, you'd think he'd have the bill; he would know how many were there. But that was a reality TV casting gig for his announcement. And you'd think this stuff would get talked about on the news, but no one talks about it.
They like Trump.
They like Trump, okay? But everybody knows, first of all, there was a book written about Trump back in the 90s. And the author was sued because he said Trump wasn't really a billionaire. And Trump sued him. And some court docs had to come out, and the guy demonstrated that Donald Trump was in debt for $200 million. So you and I, at the time, you and I had more money than Trump because he owed $200 million. We don't. But since then, he's gotten these deals like The Apprentice. He's made $200 million on that, and all this stuff of these licensing deals on his name. So he's a smart guy as far as that goes. But the other thing too, listen, he's a con man. He's a con man. He's a P.T. Barnum. The worst sort. I don't know if you're familiar with...
Most billionaires are, in fairness.
Well, you know what? A lot of them inherit their money, and they're quiet people, and they get into real estate and like that, and stocks and bonds. But this guy's a showman. He's a pitchman,
He's a professional showman.
And even with the hair, the whole thing with the hair, he admits.
Did that hair could be a whole nother person?
Well, he admits that he does that on purpose with his hair. He says he blow dries it forward and then he combs it back. So he creates that crazy hair. You know? Like Don King. It's like Don King with the hair, you know?
Dude, I can't help... Trump's an idiot. I will move if he becomes president, but I can't help but like him. I can't help but laugh as he calls Mexicans rapists and publicly doxes other senators.
Well, you know what? I was worried about this election season because, you know, the last one was so bitter and hostile. You know, everybody between Romney and Obama. And this one is fun.
And Ron Paul just sitting in the corner.
Yeah. And I you know, looking back, I think that Ron Paul was a shill, and he made a deal just to get his son into the Senate because there's you can't make up any legitimate excuse why his son would be running for president right now when he's a junior senator, has no credentials whatsoever. So it's obvious his dad made a deal to get him where he is right now.
Well, his son is a shill.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, his son is certainly a shell. I would have supported him before all this stuff, but his whole stance on the Iran deal and the TPP just completely tempered my support for him.
Well, yeah, a lot of people say that Bernie Sanders is a shill, you know, and people from Vermont, and leftists and socialists from Vermont don't endorse Bernie Sanders, you know, because he's not even from Vermont. He's from Brooklyn. You know, he went to Vermont, and it's been one shell game after another.
Yeah, I'd still like to see what he does. Look, he's a better option than Hillary Clinton. Come on.
I hear you, and I think it's going to be the same thing like they did with the Ron Paul, where he wins all the debates, he wins everything in the polls, but they dangle him in front of our face, and they don't let him win, and it's kind of like just rubbing on our faces, like, see, nothing you guys want matters, and nothing you want matters. We control everything. Yeah.
Well, if it comes down to... I think it might come down to Hillary versus Bush again. Another Bush-Clinton feud.
Well, you know, I'm hearing... I've been doing some shows with some real Beltway insiders, guys that lawyers with offices on K Street, you know. One guy was former State Department. The guy who wrote that Bush book, you know, I think his name's Jeffries. And then another guy who has a State Department, I think his name is Craig. I mean, you can look him up on my YouTube channel. But they're saying that there's some new dirt on Bush Jr. there that's about to come out that no one knows exactly what it is, but people are talking about it.
Well, Bush Jr., just being a Bush is dirt enough.
You would think. You know, you would think. But it doesn't seem to really matter in the media the way the media is these days.
Yeah, but the media likes the Bushes and likes the Clintons. They're going to push for a Hillary Jeb debate, no matter how hard guys like Bernie or even Rand Paul push.
Well, I tell you, like, if the media was doing their job, okay, like even a little bit, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with the whole scandal about Trump University.
I think so.
Yeah, well, Trump created the so-called Trump University in New York State. It was supposed to be like a real estate college where he was going to teach people real estate. Now, you're not even allowed to call your college a university. There's certain guidelines you have to follow before you can do that. But so it's been shut down by the New York State, the Secretary of State, Attorney General's office, and there's still a lawsuit against them on that from the state of New York.
Round of applause for Donald Trump.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, man. You know, I talked to a couple of the victims of this con, and one father and son. They both spent $35,000 to get this exclusive training by Donald Trump and this university, and the leads, exclusive property leads, exclusive banking sources, lending funding sources, and stuff like that, and it was a total scam. And they didn't even have teachers or instructors. They had telemarketers that would call them up to advise them on their business dealings. And all they did when they called up was try and sell them more classes and more stuff. So they were finally shut down. But, yeah, and, you know, this father and son, the father's like 77 years old, too. And the son was, you know, yeah. And they got scammed out of $70,000 plus change on the smaller classes, the $1,500 here, the $1,700 there. So that's the kind of stuff that you really want to... should be in the news.
Yeah, I agree that should be in the news. I mean, the whole thing about Mexicans being rapists, that's enough to kill Trump's chances. He killed his chances with his announcement speech. That's impressive.
Well, no, you would think so, but he seems to recover constantly. Now, I got to ask, how come nothing is being said about his relationship to Jeffrey Epstein?
Jeffrey Epstein hasn't been talked much about.
Yeah, that's right, because he has connections to Hillary Clinton and Bush, too.
Yeah.
Pretty much...
They all seem to.
Yeah, he's like an equal opportunity pedophile. Now, you and I, it's really not funny, because, my God, the guy's a disgusting pervert and a terrible person. But
agreed.
You and I did a show in the past that just covered Jeffrey Epstein alone. So if people want to hear that, they can just go on YouTube and search Ed Opperman, Epstein, Dylan Wade. I think it's called Epstein Update, something like that, and I have that up there as well. But Epstein came along. He came into the public eye because he had this. He's a billionaire. What do you call it? Like a hedge fund manager. His main client is this guy named Leslie Wexner, who owns Victoria's Secret and The Limited and Abercrombie and Finch, and stores like that. These teen girl clothing stores. And he was flying
of course, a pedophile would be involved with that.
Exactly. Yeah. And now the thing is Bill Clinton was flying around on Epstein's private plane, and that's how Epstein got into the news. So Vanity Fair did an interview. They wanted to do an article about Epstein. Who is this guy, Jeffrey Epstein? This is before he was ever convicted of anything. Although the author of the article, Vicky Ward, did see plenty of signs, and there were plenty of clues and eyewitnesses to the activities that Jeffrey Epstein was up to. But
of course.
Oh, yeah. But she interviews Donald Trump about Epstein. And the quote is, and I've made a meme about this. I put it up on Facebook.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, they actually mentioned that on MSNBC last week about the quote that's floating around Facebook, and I'm the guy that made it. Okay. And they asked Trump about Epstein, and he says, I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy, booms Trump from a speakerphone. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life. Now, that's Donald Trump talking about now convicted sex offender and pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was having 3 little girls, 12, 13-year-old girls, every single day brought to his Palm Beach mansion so he could molest these girls. And then he got away with it by bribing politicians.
How you get away with that amazes me.
Well, we're finding out how he got away with it because the victims in that case are suing the federal government to release all the sealed plea negotiations. So they won that leg of the litigation, and all that stuff has been unsealed. I haven't had a chance to read it all, but there's some negotiations that have been published where the DA, the prosecutor, is talking to Epstein's legal team, which includes Jerry Lefcourt, which is a famous civil rights attorney from the 70s and the 80s in New York City. He defended Abby Hoffman. Ken Starr from Whitewater fame and Monica Lewinsky fame. Alan Dershowitz, who's a professor, Harvard professor, civil rights attorney. Roy Black, who was the attorney who defended the Kennedy rapists down there in Florida. So...
The Kennedy rapist?
Yeah, one of the Kennedy kids was a rapist. He was charged with rape. William Kennedy Smith was charged with rape, and he got off because Roy Black got him off of that case. That's how Roy Black got famous. Usually famous. He's always been a big lawyer. But the thing is when you read these negotiations back and forth, and the prosecutor is telling the defense, we don't want the judge to know about this evidence against Epstein. Okay? So... Yeah, the level of shenanigans in that prosecution is beyond your imagination. And like I said, we did a whole show about it where we went into much more detail. People should go look for that video. I've done several of them. Just Google Opperman Epstein. I've done 20 shows on it with huge detail. The guy got
it was a great show.
Yeah, the guy got 18 months. He only served 13 months. He only
got 18. That's right. He only got 18 months. And how much time could he spend outside the cell?
Every day. He only slept at night in the cell, and on Sundays he spent all day there on Sundays.
God.
Yeah, but he was allowed to leave, get on his jet, and fly down to Virgin Islands, his private island. He was allowed to fly to Manhattan, do whatever he wanted. Now just think, this guy from that station that you're on, and you were just talking about this guy who got convicted yesterday. This guy Scott Erdemard, who got Weisenberg, who got convicted of possession of child pornography. This guy got 12 years for possessing pictures and videos of little kids getting raped. Epstein is actually doing the raping, and he gets 18 months. He serves 13 months in a private wing of a jail with it. He donated $95,000 to the sheriff. Doesn't even spend the whole time in there. He got work release during the daytime. And then now, if you look him up, if you live next door to Epstein in Manhattan, you'll look up his address. Do any sex offenders live in my neighborhood? It doesn't come up because he uses his address down there in the Virgin Islands. That's Trump's pal. That's Trump's buddy. But it gets even more sicker than that. One of the main witnesses and accusers against Jeffrey Epstein is a girl named Virginia Roberts. Virginia Roberts, as a little girl, worked for Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago Resort down there in Palm Beach. There's some conflicting reports whether she worked there as a coat check girl or in the women's locker room. We're not exactly sure. Her dad worked there in the maintenance department. Mar-a-Lago Resort is where Jeffrey Epstein used to stay and party with Prince Andrew. We have pictures of this girl, Virginia Roberts, okay? Well, first we have pictures of her when she was like 12, 13 years old. She was being molested by this man. He's taking her on trips to New York City. You see her on the Staten Island Ferry looking like a little kid. But you see her also pictures where she's 17 years old, and she's hugging Prince Andrew. And a lot of people say, well, look at her. She looks like she's happy. She looks like she's having fun. And she was being groomed from the time she was a little kid, to be abused by these pigs. Anyway, Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, some of their vacations together were spent there at Mar-a-Lago, which is owned by Donald Trump. So you can't say, people can try and say, okay, Trump makes this comment about Jeffrey Epstein liking girls on the younger side. Just turns out to be later on he's convicted of being a sex offender and being a child molester. But he had to know what this guy's interests were and his activities were because he was staying there at his business, at his resort, where his employee was being molested by these two people. I don't know, was at that location or what? We don't have that information. But we know there's a connection there. There's enough of a connection there that it should be front page news. And not only that, too, but anybody who went to Jeffrey Epstein's home down there in Palm Beach, Florida, because it's in the probable cause affidavits that they got the search warrant from, you would walk into that home through the kitchen, because every girl described the same exact thing. Every victim of this pig described the same exact thing. They would walk in through the kitchen entrance. They'd go up the stairs. There were naked pictures of preteen girls in frames all over the walls in that home, from the entrance to the massage room. So anybody who walked in there saw this. This isn't something happening in a vacuum where people didn't know what was going on. So here we got Donald Trump running for president with all this dirt going on right under his nose, and no one says a damn thing. Now, let's stretch it out a little bit here, right? Donald Trump, what else does he do? He goes out and buys the Miss Teen USA pageant, okay?
Oh, man, I actually didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I think of these things, okay, because I look at people and I know they're pigs. And what does he do? He moves these pageants to Trump properties. So now you got all these kids, these little kids, these women, the Miss America pageant and the Miss Teen USA pageant, all these girls, they're sleeping in his hotel rooms, they're living on his property there, they're dealing with him. Now they got to work for him. If they win the contest, they're working for him. They're an employee of his. So...
Man, I don't know why you would want to win that contest.
I hear you, man. I hear you. There's a little bit more to this Mar-a-Lago business, with Prince Andrew down there, with Jeffrey Epstein down there, with one of these main victims, her dad working down there. Because I don't know if you and I have ever talked about Adnon Kashogi before.
No, doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. You gotta. I'm trying to do a show on Adnon Kashogi. There's an article on the internet called 6 Degrees of Adnon Kashogi. Now, back in the 80s, they used to have this TV show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And Adnon Khashoggi at the time was the richest man in the world. And he was described as a Saudi billionaire. But what he actually was is he was an arms dealer. And he would be in the middle of all these big arms deals. He's the guy that was right at the heart of Iran-Contra. He was right at the heart of the arms for hostages. He was the guy that made these deals. Adnon Khashoggi. Now, what's he have to do with Trump? Adnon Khashoggi had the largest yacht in the world. And he sold that yacht to Donald Trump. But they had some kind of arrangement where Adnon Khashoggi was still able to throw parties on that yacht, and Donald Trump was throwing parties on that yacht. Now, some of the people at these parties on that yacht were Michael Jackson, Geraldo Rivera, Ann Coulter, Elizabeth Taylor. Week after week after week, these lavish parties. The most expensive parties of the year. Now, when Adnon Khashoggi, because Adnon Khashoggi actually admitted being this Iranian, we know for a fact that he's an arms dealer, but the guy was up to some other shady business as well, because he had his own private island in the Bahamas, and he had his own private airstrip on that island in the Bahamas, and he had a deal worked out where he could land his private plane there, and the customs inspectors wouldn't come until like the next day. He could unload his planes and do whatever he wants. This was at the height of the cocaine smuggling back in the 80s through the southeast corridor there, the Caribbean corridor, smuggling cocaine up into the United States. Now, I'm not making any accusations, but there was a lot of allegations that other people were making about his activity at that time. Now, by the way, too, you might want to look this up. Donald Trump's helicopter pilot has been convicted of cocaine and marijuana smuggling, both before working for Trump and after working for Trump.
I read that. You can't make this up.
You can't make it up. But the thing was, Trump's connections to Adnon Khashoggi alone should be enough this should be front page news. This should be the story. This should have been the story before he ran for president. I've been talking about this for a long time. Khashoggi's been involved in everything. Now, there were congressional hearings where Khashoggi admitted that he had to give a percentage of all his income earned to bin Laden and to Al-Qaeda, because they took a cut of what he did. So we got, Donald Trump and Geraldo Rivera and Ann Coulter are funding bin Laden. That's the fact. It's a fact. I'm not making it up. Look it up.
I know I believe you. I can't.
Now it gets better because Khashoggi, now they say that he's a failed billionaire. He's lost all his money. Who knows how that could happen? But whatever. He lost all his money. He doesn't have a shoebox of money. The speculation is that he's hiding out down there at Mar-a-Lago. And he was down there. We know for a fact there was a couple times he was down there ducking subpoenas. We know that for a fact. You can just Google Khashoggi Mar-a-Lago. But also, too, now, again, we got this thing Epstein with the little girls and that stuff here. What else is Adnon Khashoggi known for? Prostitution and escort services and using these girls as favors in business deals. One of the girls he had working for him, and he admits this, he admitted this in court, was Heather Mills, the wife of Paul McCartney. The one-legged chick. She worked for Adnon Khashoggi before she married Paul McCartney. So, listen. We got all this going on down at Mar-a-Lago. You got Adnon Khashoggi there. You got Jeffrey Epstein there. You got one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims there. You got Prince Andrew there being photographed with one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Okay? I think that's enough dirt and scandal and craziness
to end Trump's campaign.
Or for someone to mention it. Mention it on TV just once. Do me a favor. Just say it. Yeah. But instead...
We're not asking for much here.
Yeah.
We're really not.
I'm really not, man, Oh, my God. So
As you can tell, my dog feels very strongly about this issue.
Yeah, he probably hears me ranting and raving over there. He thinks you're being attacked. I tell you, there's something about this freaking Epstein guy that just pisses me off so much.
Well, I think it might be the pedophilia.
Yeah, well, you know what you know what it really is, man.
That he got away with it.
That he got away with it. There's this paragraph in the probable cause affidavit where the two detectives describe going to the victims' homes. These were all little 13, 14, 15-year-old girls. And they had their names. They knew who they were. And they would show up at their homes and knock on the door around dinner time. And, parents open up the door. Oh, what police? What can we do for you? Oh, my goodness, what's going on? Oh, well, we think your daughter's been involved in being molested by this millionaire, and he's paying them to come give massages, and he molested them, and then they go, oh, come on in. Can you imagine, man? Can you imagine? Then the kids deny it. And then the next day, the parents call back and says, oh, we talked to our daughter. She admits everything. Oh, my God, come back. Can you just imagine, man? You're sitting in your home, and you get that kind of knock on the door. Yeah, and to me, because my kid's the same age. And when I saw those pictures, man, of that girl, Veronica Roberts, or Virginia Roberts, I always forget. I think it's Virginia. Yeah. On the Staten Island ferry there. She's a little kid, man. She's like 12, 13 years old, man. That's
my brother's age.
Yeah. And you see her, they have transcripts of her conversations with her mother, and her mother saying, you have to get away from that man. You have to get away. They're all afraid of this guy. And they should be afraid of this guy because the prosecutor, the federal prosecutor for the Southern District of Florida, who I've said to you before is the equivalent of Rudy Giuliani when he was a federal prosecutor for the Northern District in New York State. He's the guy that was prosecuting Epstein. And Epstein went after this guy with his lawyers, with Roy Black and their investigators and all that stuff. They investigated him and his wife, his family, his neighbors, digging up dirt on the prosecutor, putting pressure on the prosecutor.
How do you get away with that?
You can't. You can't in real life. Okay, because like I told you last time we were on, I worked on those big mafia cases against Giuliani. I was on the defense on the other side of Giuliani, okay? And you can't win. You can't do that. You'll get your ass kicked. Okay. But what happened is that he's able to get away with it because one of the things he had, Jeb Bush has put the pressure on the prosecutor, by the way.
Jeb Bush?
Yeah, Jeb Bush, yeah. And also, too, Epstein donated $3 million to the Clinton Foundation from a Swiss bank account. But one of the reasons why I think he got away with it, and this is, again, in the probable cause affidavit, which you guys can look up yourself. You don't have to believe anything I'm telling you, is that they said that he had videotaping equipment in his home there and in the massage room and all this kind of stuff like that. And they said they thought it was for blackmail purposes, is what they said in the affidavit. Which makes sense. It's the same story. I don't know if you've ever interviewed Henry Vincent and the whole Franklin cover-up. Yeah. It was the same thing. Went on there with Craig Spence in Washington, D.C. The same thing, but this was an all-boy call-girl operation where they started supplying underage boys to these politicians. It was all being videotaped by Craig Spence. Had a whole hidden room there with video cameras and stuff like that. At the time, Craig Spence, his security detail were all Secret Service agents, okay? He had a Secret Service agent security detail protecting him, okay? And he wound up killing himself. And my guest, Henry Vincent, who was the head of the call boy operation, he wound up going to prison for a very long time. Had a really rough time in prison. His lawyer was Greta Van Susteren for a while there, and he's not very satisfied with the job she did for him. And yeah,
I'd imagine not.
I know.
Man, with all that information, how is Trump still in the race?
That's a good question. Okay, well now, when he was asked about Bill Cosby and about Bill Cosby raping all these women and all these allegations of raping these girls, Donald Trump said, you know what, he needs a new PR agent because they're not handling his thing very well. And I think, yeah, there's a level. Because I've been involved.
They're not handling it well. He did. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Trump has a great PR team. And in the news and in the media and in these magazines and on these TV shows.
All that matters.
Yeah, it really is, man. It really is. Because even in cases like Tiger Woods and Wienergate even, too, we knew a lot of stuff that went on behind the scenes that never made it to the news. But people don't realize, I worked on the Tiger Woods case. I was involved in the Charlie Sheen case. Charlie Sheen's another story. It's just like Trump. Why the hell isn't this guy in prison? You know, and Wienergate, I was behind the scenes in all these cases. I worked these cases. And there was stuff we knew, you know, that we thought would make the news. You know, all kinds of allegations, man. Underage girls, all kinds of stuff, man, out there, you know. And none of that came out. In fact, it's in the media. Is one of Tiger Woods' girlfriends. He met her when she was his babysitter. When she was a little teenage babysitter working for him. And he dated her later on. I think, I don't think there's any proof that he dated her when she was underage, but that's how they met. So a lot of this stuff gets covered up. Okay, even when there's a big scandal going on, and you think the media's on a feeding frenzy. No, they're still covering stuff up even during that media feeding frenzy. Just like they're covering stuff up with Trump right now. There's roads that they will not go down. Now, I heard that they mentioned that meme that I created on Facebook talking about Epstein. And I didn't see it myself. I've only heard everyone flipped out when they heard it because he said there's a quote going around Facebook, and everybody knew it was me because I've been promoting the hell out of that thing. And they said that even then they didn't like come right out and say it. They just alluded to it, about Trump talking about his pedophile friend, So
it makes me sick. It makes me sick.
It really does, and we started out, we were laughing about Trump. He's cute, he's funny, he's this, he's that. But you know what, man? He's another billionaire pig who got there again through the same stuff. And he's hooked in with all these people. He's all hooked in with Giuliani and these characters and stuff like that. And Giuliani, as we know, he was hired to go out there to the Presidio daycare center in San Francisco with those allegations. All that child molestation was going on over there by that Colonel Michael Aquino, the first Satanist chaplain in the U.S. Army. And who's brought out there to investigate this? Well, Rudy Giuliani. He's a fancy U.S. prosecutor, and he goes out there and gives the whole thing a clean bill of health. Everything's whitewashed and covered up. So now he's one of Trump's buddies, too, as well, who's now coming out. And you know what? I see these guys on TV. Because you got to remember, man, back in those days when I knew all these guys, I had a nightclub. I was traveling in these circles with those kind of people. So, and I see their eyes lighting up. Oh, Trump gets to be president. Oh, he gets a cabinet position, man. We're going to get these contracts. Oh, we're going to get this. We're going to get that. They all got their little greedy, beady eyes lighting up over Trump getting in there,
Yeah, of course. The rich will always help the rich.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
How can somebody who's so rich know the issues of the poor, like he claims to?
Well, he would know from collecting their rents and not doing any repairs on their apartments over there at the Tyson Apartments on Staten Island.
I guess.
Because, I had to go, one year I had to go to summer school because these Tyson Apartments were in Newdorp, which was a nice area of Staten Island. But they somehow he managed to be able to put these slums, these tenements. They look like projects, In fact, I always assumed they were projects. I just found out just recently that they were privately owned by Trump. And if you were in Newdorp, that's where you went to get the drugs. That's where the prostitution was. That's where all the crime was and stuff like that. Or at the Tyson Apartments there. And also too, see, his dad got lucky too. Because around that time in the 70s, they were just developing Staten Island. So they were building these two-family homes, these row houses, all over the place. And they were selling them so cheap, $30,000, $40,000, $20,000 sometimes. So they had this money. They could go in there and buy up hundreds of them. Those houses now, today, they're going for $700, $800 million, So you can easily see, how they made all this money. It wasn't from some brilliance. It was luck. And,
of course. That's how most of them make their money.
Yeah, that's the way it is, man. They inherit it, and then they put it in real estate like that, and they move on with that.
Yeah, I mean, for them it makes sense.
Yeah, and they just passed that law, too, with the inheritance tax, that now they don't even have to, pay any tax when they pass it on to their kids. The rest of us are never going to get a fair deal in this country until we can put the kibosh on that. You got this Walton family. The Sam Walton heirs, the 6 members of the Sam Walton family who inherited the Walmart fortune. Now, these 6 people have never worked a day in their life. They don't even pay taxes, man. They got all these tax loopholes. Plus, they get government subsidies on their Walmart.
Well, naturally, you get government subsidies.
Yeah, and all the employees there are on food stamps. Now, here you got these 6 people, right? 3 years ago, when I used to rant and rave about this, I would say you got these 6 people have 30% of all the wealth in this country. 6 people equal 100 million people in assets. Now it's 40%. Now it's 6 people equal 160 million people in assets. Now, it's not going down. It's only going to go up. Because the rest of us can't even open up any business. There's no point in trying to open up a florist or a donut shop or anything like that when Walmart sells all that crap. And they could pay someone $6 an hour. I can't pay someone $6 an hour. No one's going to want to work for me for $6 an hour. So you can't compete with these people.
No. It at some point just doesn't even seem worth it.
Yeah.
No, and people say, "Oh, let the free market decide." The free market did decide.
It's not free anymore.
No, that's what happens.
Yeah, there's too many people at the top that inherit all their money that now have too much of an edge on the rest of us. And they all know each other. They're all friends. They go to the same colleges. They're not going to let anybody else in, man. That's just how it's going.
No, and it makes people who still deny socialism look silly. I don't think socialism's totally the right way to go, but it probably is a lot better than what we've got.
One thing we have to remove from the equation are these people that are not contributing, they're not working. They've inherited their wealth. Now they can invest in a business that leaches profits out of that business without producing anything, without putting in any effort, without putting in any work, without putting in any growth. They're a leech on these businesses. We should have the workers should own the business. And then if the workers want to raise money by selling stock or whatever like that, they can do that. But they have to have the majority ownership because that's the problem. We got too many people that are not contributing. They've inherited money, and they're making money off that money. And that's all they're doing.
Yeah. Man, it's really kind of depressing. I thought we were just going to sit around and laugh at Trump for an hour.
I know. I'm laughing at Trump, don't worry. But also, too.
I'm still laughing at Trump. It's too hard not to.
I don't know if we talked about this on the air or off, but then you got Bernie Sanders, this so-called socialist. I can tell you right now, the real socialists, I'm a socialist, and the real socialists up there in Vermont don't trust Bernie Sanders, and he's not from Vermont, he's from Brooklyn. He went up there as a carpetbagger, went up there, ran for office, and from what I understand, he's just he's a gatekeeper and a shill, And
he doesn't claim to be a socialist.
Oh no, sure he does. Oh no,
No.
Oh no, yeah, look it up. Yeah, Bernie Sanders is a socialist.
No, you sure?
I'm positive. No, 100% positive.
Is Denmark socialist?
I don't know about Denmark. Is Denmark socialist? What does Denmark have to do with it? Because he's from Vermont, not Denmark.
I know. I know he's from Vermont, not Denmark. He says he wants to create a society like Denmark.
Oh, really? Do we have to wear those wooden shoes?
I don't think so.
I hope not. What about, do we have to have windmills? See, this is what I'm talking about. This guy's not good.
That's possible. That one's possible.
Yeah, those old wooden windmills, man. Yeah, that's where they got the wooden shoes, right? They're from Denmark, yeah. I don't know, man. I refuse.
I guess people from Denmark like wood.
Yeah, right. Norwegian wood, like the Beatles. And also, too, Bernie Sanders, man, he's an apologist for Israel. My God, how can anybody
that's the part I don't like about him.
How can anybody look what they're doing over there and excuse it?
I just got into an argument yesterday with people who said what they were doing was completely right.
Do you know that?
And actually said they were being merciful.
Do you know that just recently, in the past 30 days, they released a ban on building materials going into the Gaza, where they had bombed all these homes, but they had no materials in there to rebuild everything that was destroyed. And Israel,
by them,
right?
But by Israel,
and Israel had a blockade, did not allow any rebuilding materials into the area.
That's the thing that Christians always get on me about this because I don't like Israel. How do you like somebody who does what they do?
See, it's horrific, and it does say in the Bible that God will bless those that bless Israel. But God did not always bless Israel, okay? And you need to teach these people that. When Solomon, in the end of his life, was going a little crazy, he brought back these Asherah poles where they used to sacrifice children and do blood sacrifice and stuff like that to Baal and all these demonic gods. And so
that's the merciful religion, right?
No, but that's not. No. Because he had fallen away from God, and he had gotten dark. But God did not bless Israel at that point of time when Solomon was building these Asherah poles. So God doesn't just blanketly support Israel all the time, no matter what they do. And we can point to this in the Bible, in the Book of Solomon. So,
yeah, I mean, anybody who supports Israel right now, I have to question their A, their sanity, and B, their degree of bloodthirst.
yeah, well, and also too, for Christians, we have to realize that when the Antichrist comes back, he's going to be sitting on the throne there in the temple. So
Netanyahu.
Well, but the thing is, by us funding Israel now, we are funding the throne for the Antichrist. And I actually said this to a good friend of mine, who's a pastor, a legit guy, knows his Bible, is a cool guy. And I said that to him, and he goes, well, yeah, if you put it that way. I says, yeah, I'm putting it that way.
How else can you put it?
You can't deny it. You can't deny it. Hey, yeah, you really, that's just the way it is, man. I cannot support the state of Israel right now. I'm a Christian. I was an evangelist. I used to travel with a tent ministry many years. My daughter's right now, she's interning right now with the local Catholic, Christian church here. So, and she's on fire for the Lord right now, doing great.
I'm undecided.
Well, take it from me. Trust me. Oh, my God.
I'm undecided because of people like the Westboro Baptist Church who do these things in the name of Christianity.
Oh, no, okay, wait a second. You got to remember, the Westboro Baptist
Church... Oh, I know
Church,
they don't represent Christians, but...
It's not even a church, it's a family. It's a family of about 15 members that really would have no publicity whatsoever if they weren't, no one would know about them. There's plenty of little groups all over the place with 15 members doing stupid things and whacked out stuff. But for some reason, the Westboro Baptist Church is given like this kind of this platform. I have no idea why, And even, too, like, I'll give you an example. Down there with the Matthew Shepard case. Now, I interviewed Stephen Jimenez, who wrote the Book of Matthew, and because you're familiar with the Matthew Shepard case, right?
Not really.
Okay, what happened was back in the 90s, this college student, Matthew Shepard, got the crap beat out of him. He got pistol whipped, and he was tied to a fence post in the middle of a field out there in Wyoming, and he died. So it became this urban myth that he was killed because he was homosexual. It was a gay bashing thing. They did all these movies about it. Rosie O'Donnell did a movie. Ellen DeGeneres was involved, and Stockard Channing, all these homosexuals pumped up this story that it was all because due to homosexuality. And that's where the West Memphis Baptist Church the Westboro Baptist Church first became famous because they had gone there to protest. And when you watch these movies about Matthew Shepard, they show the Westboro Baptist Church on the courthouse steps, and they're hitting people with their signs as they walk in. God hates fags. They're hitting them with the signs. But in reality, that never happened. They were isolated about 12 blocks away in a parking lot in their RV. They were allowed to park their RV in this parking lot. They had a little picket over there 12 blocks away. And they were only there for 12 hours. They were only in town for 12 hours because no one would rent them any rooms. But this was they made this big giant thing out of it that they were there on the courthouse steps, So that's how the Westboro Baptist Church got started, okay, is because of that myth. And it turns out when I interviewed Stephen Jimenez, who's a good Brooklyn boy like myself, and he researched this whole case, it turns out it had nothing to do with gay bashing or homosexuality. The kid was involved in a meth deal. The guys who killed him, they beat up 2 Mexican straight kids the same night, and they attacked him with the same gun. They were trying to sell this gun, all kinds of stuff like that. So it had nothing to do with gay bashing or anything like that. It's a whole giant myth, and a whole myth of the Westboro Baptist Church that was created out of that myth.
Well, yeah, they've become kind of larger than that myth lately, though.
Oh, yeah, and they must get a ton of donations. I can only imagine what they get,
I would hope nothing.
Nah, I'm pretty sure they do, because it doesn't matter how crazy you are, you can build up a following. Trust me. That's why I got the members section going.
Yeah, I know. You're kind of living proof.
I'm the poster child for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I think the Westboro Baptist Church might have you beat by just a little bit, but certainly not much.
You know, it's funny because I kept saying West Memphis because I just did I just did a whole bunch of shows this week about the West Memphis 3 case. These Satanists who killed these little boys down in West Memphis, Arkansas, back in the 90s. And as a matter of fact, I did a couple of really big shows on this. One with one of the occult experts who testified at the trial, Dr. Dale Griffiths, who hasn't done an interview in 20 years. And I got him to come on my show. And he says, Ed, this is going to be the last interview I ever do on this story. So I got the final record. He's like 77 years old. So I got a hold of him to come on. And then, as a matter of fact, he calls me up a couple of days later.
Hey, Ed.
Yeah.
I got to go for a minute. Can we take a quick break?
Yeah, I'll play some commercials. Okay.
Sorry, I got to... sorry.
No,
got to do something real quick.
Take your time.
I'll be back.
Okay, hey, we're here with Dylan Wade. We're taking a little break. Good old Dylan Wade, man. Don't you love this kid? A lot of people may not realize, but Dylan's only like 15 years old or 16 years old. He's at my daughter's age. And he started in radio only a few months after I did. He'll never tell you, but I'm his most popular guest he's ever had on. I'll never mention that, though. Okay, but I'm going to play a little commercial here. When he comes back, I'll just end it.
Actually, my most popular guest is Stu.
No, he's not. Is he really? Are you back?
Be back.
Oh, you're going to be back? Okay. I'm his popular guest. And now, a word from our sponsors. Pacific West Bamboo, your premier source for sustainable building material. They provide construction-grade and craft-grade bamboo material for all your indoor, outdoor, and gardening needs. Contact them for event planning and display building as well. 503-839-8126. Or you go to their new website, pacificwestbamboo.com. Or you can contact them on Facebook at Pacific West Bamboo. That's 503-839-8126. Amanda from Pacific West Bamboo was our first sponsor. She's been so good to us, so please support her in return. I want to make everybody aware of our new members section at www.oppermanreport.com. You can go there and sign up for a monthly, quarterly, or yearly subscription. You can even purchase episodes one by one. You get full access to brand new original content, new guests, new uncensored interviews, my own investigations and reports, and we're going to be adding sections with documents, images, police reports, either provided by myself or by my guests, or for my own investigations, my own reports. So you can go to oppermanreport.com and you can sign up there tonight. You can start listening tonight. Strawman. I want to mention Strawman. Strawman is a band out of Toronto, Canada. They're good friends of the Opperman Report. They're a trio of guys who share the same mindset most of us here do, and they put that energy into their words and music. So check them out at strawmanmusic.com and drop them a line to let them know that you heard them here on the Opperman Report. We'll be doing an interview with Sean Duffy soon. You can get an autographed copy of my book, How to Succeed as a Private Investigator, by visiting my PI website, emailrevealer.com. We also offer a computer and cell phone forensics. We can recover deleted text messages to uncover infidelity. We offer asset searches, locates, email tracing, background reports, and we can even trace your spouse's email address back to internet dating websites to catch them cheating online. You can reach us at 800-572-9762, or you can email me at emailrevealer@aol.com. New World Mexican Women. Everyone loves the New World Mexican Women. And their line of fine, handcrafted, authentic Mexican jewelry of stone mosaic and abalone stone inlay. In their first book, titled New World Mexican Women, available on lulu.com, they teach you how to make this jewelry, and they have a collection of love letters to their men from their hometown that have immigrated to the United States to find work. They have also published a new book entitled Azuquina to the Rodeo. It's about a young girl that falls in love with a rodeo bull rider, and she runs away with him without telling her family. You can find the New World Mexican Women by Googling New World Mexican Women. And you can ask them about their deals on wholesaling, their fine jewelry, and all of the other projects that they have going on. If you'd like to have your business or website advertised here and promoted all over the world on dozens of stations every day, give us a call at 800-572-9762 or email oppermanreport@gmail.com. And now back to our show. Okay, welcome back to the Dylan Wade show. I forget what he calls his show now. I know that Dylan used to call his show The Truth Speaks, but then he had to change the name. I guess he ran up a lot of bills under the name of The Truth Speaks. He had a chance to form a new corporation to get out from under all that debt to leave his creditors behind. But a lot of people don't know me and my friendship with Dylan here. 'Cause I'll tell you what happened. I was on Facebook one day, and Vinny Eastwood posted a link to Dylan's YouTube channel. And he says, hey, this young truther here, he's 15 years old, he's starting his own radio show, and he's on YouTube. He says, we need to get him subscribers so that, because when you have 100 subscribers on YouTube, you get more features you can use and stuff like that. So right away I said, you know what, this is cool. And I went and we got him all these subscribers. I posted them all over the place, and I mentioned it on the show so people would go and subscribe to his channel and stuff. Then he became friends with my daughter. Okay, this little Romeo over here, not my kid. And he and my daughter Victoria became buddies over Skype and stuff like that, and on their cell phones and stuff. Because he's on the East Coast and we're on the West Coast, and they're the same age. They both had radio shows and stuff like that. A little friendly competition between the kids. But I got to tell you, it's really. I'm really impressed with Dylan and all the work he's been doing here on these different stations and stuff. He's always on my old alma mater over there, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, wonderful station. And me and him, we've been on some stations together. We've left some stations together. We were both on Shake and Wake together, and then we both left there. We've been on some of these stations. So I guess, I don't know, man. Wherever he can go, I guess I can get on there, right? So let's see where he goes next. And then we'll come back. I don't know. Maybe I should take calls. Hey, anybody want to call in? 702-605-4894. Or you can Skype in at ed.opperman. I'll take your questions because we are live right now on Spreaker. We're on Spreaker.com. Right after the show is over, it'll be on the Opperman Report YouTube channel. And it'll be on the Opperman Report Spreaker channel, iHeartRadio. We're on iTunes now. And we're on some Android app. As well, where you can find our show, the Opperman Report. This isn't the Opperman Report, though. This is the Dylan Wade Show, formerly known as The Truth Speaks. Are you listening? So I guess Dylan had to go and run and take care of some business, run out to the bank or something like that, make a deposit. Oh, boy. But if you want to call in while we're waiting for Dylan, 702-605-4894, or you can Skype in at ed.opperman. By the way, if Dylan's replaying this at night, don't call, okay? Because I won't answer. All right, we're live. This is we're live. Dylan's recording to play later on one of his stations, and I'm live on Spreaker at on 7/25/2015 at 2:04 p.m. So, if it's not 7/25 Christmas in July at 2:00 in the afternoon Saturday, do not call those numbers. But if you are listening, you want to call in, give me a call, 702-605-4894. Let's see, while I'm waiting for Dylan to come back. Me and Dylan, we joke around about Stu Webb. I like Stu Webb. I've done some shows with him. As a matter of fact, I interviewed him once. I was a guest. We were both guests on Rick and Annie's Shake and Wake. And they said that I took over the show and I started interviewing Stu Webb. But I got to tell you, he loved that interview. He loved it so much that he said, you know what, I'm going to put this up. I'm going to write an article on Veterans Day with this interview. I'm going to do this. Stu Webb. And wouldn't you know it, man, good old Rick starts interrupting. Sidetracks the whole thing. And Stu never does the article. So anyway, and then whenever I call Stu off the air, he starts yelling at me and screaming at me. Gets mad at me for some reason. I'm so nice to him. I don't know what his problem is. But what are you going to do, right? It seems to be the nature of this business here. People getting angry with each other. But me and Dylan wouldn't know anything about that because we make friends everywhere we go, all our different stations. He's going to come back. He's going to listen to this show one day. He's going to kill me. Maybe I can get my kids to call in. Let's see if Victoria's around. She wants to call in. We can talk about Dylan. Otherwise, I can tell you a really funny story about the show last night. I did a show last night with this guy, John Farak. It was about the criminal CSI crime scene investigators that were in this lab down, I forget, it was some rural state, Idaho, I think it was Iowa, one of those towns. And about how this crime scene lab director was dummying up the crime scene evidence to frame defendants. And he laid out his case very well. And the guy was convicted of tampering with evidence by his own prosecutor that he worked for. So I'm doing a show last night. And, you got to start the show up, and you got to, sync up all these things with Sam Broadcast, with the encoders to log into the different stations and stuff. As I'm doing that, the arm for my microphone, I can see my microphone start to slowly drop down, okay? My microphone is falling off the desk because I have one of those big arms, those big metal arms that you see on TV at those radio stations and stuff like that. So I got to unclamp this thing and reclamp it up while I'm doing my intro. So we get through that, and a lot of people are complimenting that interview. They really enjoyed the guest last night. So then I finish with him after 2 hours, and then I do a little after show. And I gave some details about this former radio host and station webmaster who was just convicted yesterday and sentenced to 12 years for child pornography conviction. So I told that story and reported on that because it's kind of being silenced and kind of hushed up around there. So once I'm on my own, when I'm doing my own broadcast, the after show, I can say whatever I want because I'm not part of any station. So we do that, right? So then the show's over. Fine, I hang up, right? What do I do? I forgot to disconnect from some of these stations that carry me over in the UK and Ireland and Scotland. I got these stations over there that carry me. Over there, it's like in the middle of the night, so there's not that many people listening. But still, there's some people listening. And I forgot to disconnect to turn off those stations. So I was sitting here, it's late at night, you want to relax, you do a show, right? I'm drinking a beer, and I'm watching the Cartoon Network. So I got the King of the Hill on here, and all of that is playing through the microphone onto these stations over in the UK and Ireland and Scotland and Australia and all these places, man. So I haven't heard any complaints about it. So I guess someone caught it over there and turned off the auto DJ before it played for too long, but I didn't catch it for about 40 minutes. So we'll see what happens with that one. Oh, boy. So good old Dylan Wade. Let me tell you some stories about Dylan. But me and Dylan went in the Army together. Nah, I don't know where he went, man. I don't know. Should be outraged. Hang up. Maybe he'll edit this part out. I could tell a funny story about Stu Webb. I've been doing in my member section, we've been doing a series of shows about Ted Gunderson. So I just did a show with Doug Millar and David Schroeder. David Schroeder is the author of Rabbit Hole, a satanic ritual abuse story. And he was a victim of satanic ritual abuse as a child. So he knew Ted Gunderson, and he also knew this guy named Doug Millar, Doug Millar actually lived with Ted Gunderson, working on a lot of these cases back in the 80s and stuff like that, in the 90s when Gunderson was still alive. So this is around the time, and speaking of Stu Webb, when Gunderson had his falling out with Stu Webb. So as Millar tells the story, and I'm just the messenger, okay, is that when Stu Webb got kicked out of the Gunderson's condo, that one day he climbed back up and stuck in through the terrace And then there was another woman living there, and when she got near the door, like, he pushed her out the door and locked her out, and then he stole like 30 boxes of Ted Gunderson's records and stuff like that. Now, who knows if that's true? That's Doug Millar's story, but it's just such a hysterical story. The whole thing. I'm trying to do these stories about Ted Gunderson to figure out what the hell's going on with this guy. Is he legit? Was he COINTELPRO? Is he, what's going on? There's someone that either you love this guy or you hate him. Either he's a saint or he's the worst. And we have to be able to get to the bottom of this by interviewing everybody. But the more I get involved, and even trying to book people, I just hear these crazy stories and this wild. Everyone's an agent, everybody's an informant. So I don't know, man. There's so many accusations of everybody being informants and agents and stooges and rats that some of it has to be true. There has to be some truth in all of that somewhere. But it's just all so convoluted. Maybe it's just a pack of nuts who got together and are just somehow all found each other. Because I'm noticing a lot of that lately in this alternative media truther community, where it seems that with all this new stuff going out there about the flat Earth and the two suns, there's two suns up in the sky, and the moon is artificial and the stars aren't real, and all this stuff about how the like this young lady who was killed in this over this traffic ticket. She gets pulled over and then she winds up dead in this holding cell. And people say that's fake. It's a false flag. It's staged. And the what are those things? The mugshot is fake. And it just seems like with that, there's a lot of people that have just, I gotta say, lost a little touch with reality, and they seem to be finding each other and feeding off each other's insanity, and building on it and building on it and building on it, and reassuring each other. I forget, there's a name for that. There's a psychological name for that, and what that means. Off the top of my head, I couldn't remember because I'm kind of winging it here. I got no notes. I just was supposed to be interviewed today. I'm not supposed to be hosting or anything. You know what? Maybe should have stopped at the 2-hour mark. You can always cut this off. But it just seems to me that all of a sudden, out of the blue, came all this stuff about flat Earth and just all this bizarre. Everything's a false flag and everything's all fake. And, crisis actors. And I can't see any good coming out of that. I think it's bad for us. And that we need to take a step back and really take a look at things soberly and rationally, and one at a time and slowly, and not just jump to conclusions. Every time we see something on the news that these the mugshots are fake. Who knows? The mugshots could be fake. We don't know what happened. But we do know for a fact that there's a voicemail out there of her talking to somebody, talking about how she was sitting in jail. She's still not out yet. Is that fake? I don't know. How would they fake that? So they could fake the mugshot. If she was dead, they could fake that mugshot. I don't know how they could fake that voicemail. And then we're finding out that in her autopsy that she had marijuana in her system that she had to have ingested while she was there in the jail. What's going on with that? So, listen, guys, I don't know. Problem is, I really can't pause this that I know of. So I gotta wait for Dylan to get back. And I'm running out of things to talk about. If somebody wants to call in, 702-605-4894. Otherwise, I guess I could stop it here, wait for him to come back, and then restart. Because we'll probably be talking about a different topic anyway. Unless someone wants to pop in, because I didn't really promote this or announce it or anything like that. If anyone wants to come in. Chat room is totally empty. No one's even listening. People are out there having fun Saturday afternoon, having all their fun activities. And me, here I am, working my fingers to the bone. Working my vocal cords down to the bone. Might be doing a show tonight with Hank Harrison, the father of Courtney Love. He's got some kind of problem going on where they're trying to evict him from his ranch. He has a horse ranch over there in Northern California. And I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that. So he sent out a message. He has a new GoFundMe. to raise money to save his ranch. So hopefully he can come on and explain to us what's going on with that. And Monday night, I'm doing a show with Sean Duff from the group. It's a musical group called Strawman. And Sean has been helping out with the website and all kind of stuff like that, uploading shows and working really hard. He's been helping out, producing. And hopefully we can do a little show with him Monday night. Let's see, what else? Wednesday night, 10 p.m., I'm going to be on with Vinny Eastwood. And we're going to be talking about Trump. I guess I better do some more research to have more Trump information. I'm pulling up this thing here for Hank Harrison, the father of Courtney Love. And he's an old friends with the Grateful Dead and all the old electric Kool-Aid acid test, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, his GoFundMe, you can find it if you go to www.gofundme.com/ZVZ4G7Y. And the website that explains what's going on to help save the ranch is epanafarms.com. EPONAFARMS.com. That's his ranch there. Epana Farms. EPONA Farms.com. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on with him. I know he's in trouble, so he sent me a message, and I like to help people out when they're in trouble. Do the best I can. Did a show with Hank Harrison, and John Potash called in. John Potash is the author of the book Drugs as a Weapon Against Us, and also too about the FBI war on Tupac Shakur and how the FBI killed Tupac Shakur. So I was doing this interview with Hank Harrison, and John Potash calls in, and it was for the members section on OppermanReport.com. And what happened was Potash starts asking these questions of Hank Harrison, and one of them was about this guy who was a CIA agent that was friends with Hank Harrison when they were in Ireland. And it turns out that this adult CIA agent was dating Courtney Love when she was a teenager, underage. And then they went on to describe how Hank Harrison described how Courtney Love was involved in child trafficking for sexual purposes and catering parties for powerful people like that and providing them with prostitutes and underage prostitutes, which is interesting because Courtney Love turns up on the Jeffrey Epstein flight list. She was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, along with Bill Clinton and Dershowitz. And also, too, the president of Colombia was on there, Rabin, Yitzhak Rabin there from Israel, all these rich, powerful people. And just even now, recently, Epstein was photographed in New York City. And who's he walking down the street with? Woody Allen. Woody Allen and Soon Yi, his adopted daughter. Oh, hey, look who's back.
You got into directors.
Yeah, because Epstein was photographed in New York City with Woody Allen.
Epstein knows everybody.
Well, yeah, and Katie Couric was at his house. There was a lot of parties, man, at the Epstein mansions. A lot of powerful people and stuff like that that you don't hear about. And like I said, at that Palm Beach mansion, there's really no way that you could walk in and out of there without seeing all these pictures of these naked little kids.
Well, with all the allegations about Woody Allen.
Yeah, really not allegations. He was found, he was not allowed to see his son, Satchel. He was accused in the divorce litigation that he was molesting his little boy, Satchel, and he was not allowed even supervised visits with Satchel. He was not allowed any visits with Satchel. And both of his kids went on to, as adults, have come out and did full-page ads saying that they were molested by Woody Allen. I don't think there could be any... And Woody Allen never even tried to fight it. He just gave up and said, okay, Mia Farrow can have the kids. I don't want them. And now he's with this girl, Soon Yi, was his adopted daughter. So, I don't know, man.
You ready to start back up?
Oh, no, I've been talking all this time. You can start back up.
Okay, I gotta fire up my recorder again.
Okay.
Alright. We are back with Beyond the Myth. Ed, I know you were having trouble figuring out the name earlier. Beyond the Myth. I'll go back to The Truth Speaks eventually if people don't like Beyond the Myth, but for now, I don't like the word truth because everybody who lies uses the word truth.
That's interesting. So Beyond the Myth, what's the meaning beyond that?
There is none. It's going beyond the myth. Whether that myth be a conspiracy theory, as it usually is, or the official story.
So what kind of shows have you been doing lately?
I did a couple roundtables. I did a show on the TPP, which that's a nightmare.
You know.
Sorry.
No. I was going to say. You know what? I didn't even follow what the TPP is. You know, because no matter what it is, the deck's stacked against us. You know what I mean? I don't even follow it anymore. At my age, you know, I just try and hustle out my little living here the best I can, and try and make my way through life. I don't think there's any hope of. I don't think there's any hope of resisting and overthrowing these guys. We just got to keep pushing forward and do the best we can.
No, I agree with you. But it is nice to think we have a little bit of power, right?
It's nice to think it. But things have just changed so much in the past 20, 30 years. You know, coming up in a couple of weeks, I have this guest coming on who she wrote this book about these 70s activists who got together, you know, under the direction of this college professor. And what they did was they burglarized the FBI headquarters. They went into the FBI offices and they broke in, they stole all the documents. And that's how they uncovered the COINTELPRO program, by stealing those documents.
Man, COINTELPRO has been so overutilized recently. People always think everything is COINTELPRO.
You know, one of the most interesting things is the fascinating things to me is because I'm doing a series of shows about Ted Gunderson, you know, and how people will say, well, you know, the people who are against Ted Gunderson are COINTELPRO, where in reality, Ted Gunderson was the FBI director in Los Angeles during COINTELPRO. Ted Gunderson ran COINTELPRO, the real COINTELPRO. So here's people saying that, oh no, the people against him are COINTELPRO. We know for a fact Ted was, you know.
Ted Gunderson?
Yeah.
He's the guy who yells a lot?
No, Ted Gunderson is gone now. He's dead.
Yeah. I was thinking of the cowboy guy.
Which one? He's one of these truther guys, or?
No, he's a Fox News guy.
Fox News guy. That's a cowboy guy. Gunderson. I can't think of
Ted Nugent. Sorry.
Oh, Ted Nugent. Yeah, Ted Nugent was a rock star. Not a.
He was?
Yeah. That's what. Yeah, Ted Nugent was a big rock star back in the 70s and the 80s. As a matter of fact, you know, Courtney Love. We were talking about her. I don't know if I did a lot of talking while I was waiting for you. Courtney Love says that when she was like 13 or 14 years old, that she gave a BJ to Ted Nugent. He denies it, but she says it happened, and I kind of believe her.
Why wouldn't we believe the person who claims she did it?
Yeah, that's true. It's not like she would ever tell a lie. But you know, Courtney Love, she was on Epstein's plane too. I don't know if you know that.
Who wasn't?
I don't know.
Me?
I haven't
Me?
been. But, you know, I think I mentioned when I was waiting for you to come back that the president of Israel, Rabin, was on there. The president of Colombia was on there. Dershowitz, Kevin Spacey was on there. Chris Tucker.
Yeah, you mentioned Spacey.
Yeah, and I can get an interview with Kevin Spacey's brother. I got to get around to that, get him on. He said he'd come on.
Man, I like Kevin Spacey. That sucks.
Yeah, I know, man. A lot of actors you like, and like James Woods, you know, he's a great actor, but he's up to his neck in all this stuff, man. You just can't deny it. You know? Yeah. I often get attacked for still thinking Mel Gibson is talented. Yeah, Mel Gibson. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you a funny story about Mel Gibson. One of his Mel Gibson.
You have a funny story about everything, don't you?
Yeah, this is pretty funny. Everyone knows about Mel Gibson, and the woman, the woman who recorded him, when he said, "Get in the hot tub and give me a blow." All you have to do is blow me, and all those tapes of this girl, right? But there was another girl he was dating who was a Russian porn star named Violet Cowell. And she was, when I was working for that agent who got me on the Tiger Woods case and stuff like that, Violet Cowell was living at my agent's house, and she was dating Mel Gibson. So by this weird, funny coincidence in life, I get hired by the Howard Stern show to do this job.
We're talking about characters.
Yeah, I know. It's all connected because Trump's on Stern all the time. They're buddies. Stern went to Trump's wedding. So did O.J. Simpson, by the way. It was at Trump's wedding. Okay?
Of course he was.
You would think that someone would mention that, but no. Can't talk about that.
I mean, look, unless it was after the controversy, I don't blame Trump for that one.
No, I don't blame him either. But everyone knows, though, that O.J. Simpson and his crew there, they're all involved in a lot of coke dealing back in the 70s and 80s.
It should be treated as a mental illness anyway.
Yeah. But let me tell you what happened with the Mel Gibson. Because, as you know, I'm a private investigator, and I invented this investigation. It's called an online infidelity investigation, where if you give me somebody's email address, I could trace it back to online dating websites and catch people cheating online. So on the Howard Stern show, somebody had set up a fake dating website about one of their producers over there named Jared. So they contacted me to identify who had set up this fake dating website. So I says, okay, fine, I'll do that. So I'm all set up to do that kind of stuff. But if this is going to be public in the media, I need releases, because I set up these fake accounts. But for this, I would need like a model release, a model to sign a release for this fake account I was going to set up for this. So I go on Facebook and I said, okay, hey, I need a model to do a job for me for the Howard Stern show. So who contacts me? Violet Cowell. But I didn't know she was hooked up with I didn't know who she was. I didn't realize it was the same person. It was Mel Gibson's girlfriend. So what do you call it? We did this whole thing. We set it all up. And then we were talking, and she says, oh, tell Howard I said hi. And I says, oh, you know Howard? She goes, oh, yeah, I was on Howard Stern. I says, why were you on Howard Stern? She goes, oh, I was dating Mel Gibson, don't you know? It's a small world. So,
let me guess, was she involved with Epstein too?
You know what? No, I don't think anybody that I know from those circles were involved with Epstein. But you never know. You never know. It's hard to say. I'll tell you something interesting about Epstein. His connection to
God, can we just do another 2 hours on Epstein?
No, man, I'm tired. I'm kidding.
No, not now. No, God, not now. No, I have to go in an hour.
Okay, good. You know me, man. I always do a show with you, no matter what.
Yeah, you may not be my most popular guest, but you're my most reliable.
That's the truth, man. Yeah.
And I think you might have actually surpassed Stu Webb on viewership.
Well, I hear Stu Webb buys views from for his YouTube channel.
I believe it. I mean, if you want to switch a gear, did you hear about the whole Fetzer controversy?
Oh, no, go ahead. Tell me.
Fetzer got booted from Veterans Today.
Yeah, I know about that, yeah.
Yeah, well, he had been going after a couple of my friends for not agreeing with him on JFK. And he had been attacking them over and over again. They had gotten into tons of arguments. And Fetzer just got taken down. And his whole archive was gone.
Yeah, I heard all about that. And then that's the same time that Stu Webb left at the same time, too.
Stu Webb left?
Oh, yes. They all left Veterans Today, yeah. And then Gordon Duff came out with a whole story about how he didn't endorse Webb anymore and he didn't endorse Fetzer.
Gordon Duff, never spoken to him, but Stu said I should try to get Gordon Duff on my show.
Well, I'd like to. I don't know, man. I don't know. At one time, I was hoping I can get an article on there, and I don't even have time to write articles anymore.
I didn't know you wrote articles.
Oh no, yeah, I got 600 published articles. Yeah, I'm all right. I wrote a book too. Yeah.
I know you wrote a book. I just didn't know you wrote articles.
Oh yeah, I used to write them all the time, but now I can't even write a press release. I'm so damn busy. Get this, man. I got so much opportunity, man. It's not even funny. If somebody's out there wants to help me, man, come on down here and let's get some work done. I got an appointment, a Skype meeting on Monday with the BBC about doing about doing documentary films because I just been interviewing all these people, all these BBC people lately, and so they heard about me and they said, "Oh boy, you're doing the same stuff that we want to follow up on." Because I had that guy Tim Tate on. Tim Tate did the documentary "Conspiracy of Silence" about the Franklin cover-up and all that. That was silenced and was about to go on the Discovery Channel like 20 years ago. And the night before, they shut it down. They wouldn't let it. They wouldn't let it air. What the heck is this? So anyway, BBC contacted me about doing documentaries with them. Now I have an opportunity to do a grant, to get a grant to do my own documentaries, which I'd love to do, man. But I don't even have the time to write the grant. Forget articles for veterans today. I'm going to put money in the Gordon Duff's pocket. The guy's already a billionaire. I'm going to give him free content. I can't even give myself my own free content.
I might be down there in a couple of years for like 3 or 4 years. So
oh really?
If I come, yeah, I've got a college that I'm looking at that's down by you.
Is it over there on Sunset and Pecos?
No, it's over in I don't know how far you are from California, because I thought you lived in California until Victoria helped me with my geography multiple times. But the American Film Institute in L.A.
Okay, there's a film college here too as well, and it's not expensive, man. It's cheap, and it's really close by to us here as well too. That I'm trying to. I do a lot of stuff too, man. Like I do like casting and stuff like that. I help people get on like as extras and stuff on these little student films. So I'm always doing stuff, and I'm talking to the head of this college over here because I'm hoping maybe I can get a little schooling, to learn how to do these documentary films myself, or hook up with some kids there that know how to do it.
Yeah, I'm looking at all types of filmmaking. Documentaries would be fun too.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah,
but what's the name of the college? Because and especially if you can help me get in, that would make things real easy.
It's not expensive either, man. It's like $9,000, and you can get they have all kinds of grants and stuff. Let's see. Yeah, and this season right now they got all these film and acting school and the IAFT, the International Academy of Film and Television. IAFT. And they're doing all these student films right now, so I see all these casting calls for people to be extras and get these little film parts, and you can get an IMDb credit too, just being in one of these little student films. So, and I'm always I know so many people in trying to get into acting and reality TV and stuff like that. So I'm always passing around these casting calls that I see all the time.
Well, I'm looking at it now. I'm definitely going to look into it because I would like to come down there and. Man, it sounds like you could use the help, and it could be beneficial to me as well.
Yeah, I'll wind up like Stu Webb. I'll have people down here living on my couch. I mean Ted Gunnison.
I wouldn't take your couch.
It's a fold-out couch.
Yeah, I wouldn't take your couch. I'd live on campus.
Well, actually, they don't have a campus. You'd have to get a little apartment nearby. I don't think they have a campus, but they do have international students that go there. I know that.
It's definitely something to look into. No, right now I was looking at the American Film Institute. That is expensive. That is expensive as hell.
Well, the thing is, both of us, since we're doing these, we're producing content right now. It's audio content, but we're producing content. So I've met so many people, man. I interviewed the FBI director who was in charge of the anthrax case. You know?
Yeah, we were gonna talk about that on the last show, but I ended up going on vacation that week, and I just never got around to contacting you about it. I kept forgetting.
Yeah, no big deal about that. But here's a guy who was the FBI agent that was in charge of the anthrax investigation, one of the biggest investigations this country's ever had. You know, it was right after 9/11. You know, they're mailing around all this anthrax. They're mailing it to Congress. They got the whole Congress. They put them on this Cipro, this drug, where the side effects are like delusions and confusion and nightmares and insomnia and all that stuff like that. So here you got, we got this big 9/11, the World Trade Center bombing thing going on here. And then they put the whole government on this Cipro, giving them all kinds of constipation and diarrhea and all this stuff like that, and confusion and nightmares and night sweats and all this crazy stuff. It's just insane. It's insane.
We're going to have to talk about that.
You can't make it up.
No, you can't. No, you can't. People have tried.
But the thing is, like this guy, his name is Rick Lambert, and this guy hasn't done any interviews. Look around. You're not going to find any interviews with this guy. No one else has done it. So I've made all these connections and these contacts. I interviewed E. Howard Hunt's son, St. John Hunt. E. Howard Hunt was one of the Watergate burglars, and he confessed to being involved in the JFK assassination. And
yeah, wasn't that confession for a Kevin Costner movie?
No. There was a deal with Kevin Costner where Costner was offering money to them to break the story about JFK, but then Costner would never come up with the money. He never came up with the money. We get into all of that in the interview. But the thing
That'll
is,
be an interesting one.
You're
going to have to hook me up with some guests. I'm running low. I've been doing roundtables because I can't find any for the days my shows are.
Well, I got to tell you, man, already as it is, I love you. But
I know.
Already as it is, man, I got people bugging my guests. If my guests, they're still on the show with me, and people are contacting them trying to get interviews. And I've had a little problem, too, with callers who call in and talk to the guests over Skype to ask questions, and then they're contacting the guests after the show. So we got to come up with a little...
I promise I will not send their contact details to anybody if that's what you're worried about.
No, I'm just saying that my guests are already being contacted by 1 million people to get booked just while they're on the show, So, because I do a lot of, listen, I spend a lot of time booking guests, and I spend a lot of time on my show, which is why I'm trying to build up this members section. So we get a little funding, so I can get a little breather here and work on this stuff. And really, the next step, man, is I really want to do some documentary films, like I said. And I have so much access to so many really great guests and so much great content that no one else is touching. No one else is doing it anymore. And so I'd really like to get that going.
I know. I don't have those kinds of connections, sadly. I have some, but not many.
Well,
Vinny did a lot of good for me after that show.
Oh, yeah.
Vinny sent me most of the people I talk to now.
It's kind of funny because Victoria hates Vinny. She said,
yeah, I know. She actually came on a show with me and Vinny.
I know, but she said he kept interrupting and wouldn't let her talk.
Yeah, he has that effect on people. I love Vinny, but he can't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I could do this just audio only and not have to do video with him.
I didn't do video with him.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Yeah.
No, I didn't have a webcam back then.
Yeah, I'll just tell him I don't have a webcam or it's broken.
Oh, you just said that live.
He doesn't.
So, if he's listening, you're screwed.
No, he doesn't listen to me. Nobody listens to me.
I know. I came out here expecting like 50 callers. I expected not being able to have a conversation with you. It's kind of nice being able to.
Well, you know what? I didn't promote this at all. So, but no one's in my chat room either. And I guess we started at 1 o'clock on the nose. So I'm surprised.
Yeah.
With Spreaker, people get an email as soon as you go live. So usually I have people in the chat room no matter when I do this. But also, too, I was doing I just put up another show right before this, West Memphis 3 show. I edited 2 shows together, and they're going to be playing tonight on Para X Radio at 7 p.m., and then on Late Night in the Midlands on Tuesday at 4 p.m. It's about the West Memphis 3. I got a whole bunch of shows coming up about that. Trying to get the truth out on that situation.
Well, yeah, I don't have a situation I'm trying to get the truth out on because I really don't have a situation to talk about.
Well,
I mean, this Jeffrey Epstein one is the first thing I've talked about like that.
I'm sorry, I missed you because I was getting an email here. What would you say?
I said no, what I said was that this Jeffrey Epstein thing is the first case that I've actually talked about.
Yeah, and I wish more people were talking about it, Okay. Because it's not talked about enough at all.
No, it's not. I can't believe that it's been pushed to the side.
Yeah. You know what? It's really interesting, too, because before we won the ruling down there in Florida, they had another ruling shortly before that. It was around March or April, where the judge ruled that this girl, Virginia Roberts, was not allowed to insert herself into the litigation. She would have to file her own lawsuit. She couldn't be a plaintiff, add herself as an additional plaintiff to the existing litigation. But she could be a witness, and she could be file her own suit, but she could not be added as a plaintiff into the existing litigation. Now, this was taken and reported all over the UK that Prince Andy has been cleared because the judge ruled that his accuser cannot be allowed in the litigation. Ha 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 ha. And that's
victory, kind of.
That's what they reported over there. And they tried to do that here, too. They tried to report that, big loss to Jeffrey Epstein accusers. And I read this on Radar Online, and I said, oh, my goodness, oh, no, what did we lose? And I went and I read all the documents myself, didn't say that at all. And I was trying to tell people, I said, no, we still got a chance here to win this. I'm telling you, don't worry. And other stuff came out, too, that this other character that's involved with Epstein, this Jean-Luc Brunel, this guy's a real character all by himself. I wonder if he has a connection to Trump. But this is a guy that owns a modeling agency. He calls himself a modeling scout. And he was already exposed on 60 Minutes for luring these little teenage models and giving them roofies and stuff like that.
Oh. Yeah. And did he take a page from Bill Cosby?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's interesting, too. You'd think, more would be said about Cosby as well.
No, Cosby's been being hit.
No, but Cosby was covered up for a long, long time.
I know it's horrible how long that was covered up.
Yeah, I had Mark Ebner on my show, and he was trying to get articles published about Cosby for a long time, and it was all being covered up. They wouldn't do it. So and when finally now this latest round of Cosby accusations came out, he went on tour everywhere. I was calling it the "I Told You So" tour because he was everywhere. He was on CNN and Court TV or everywhere talking about "I told you so" about Bill Cosby 5 years ago. He's a real character. I wonder if he would do your show. He probably would.
Hey, send me his contact. I'll try.
Okay.
Yeah, so, Ed, what do you have coming up?
Well, another guy I'm trying to book that I should have on soon is Melvin Dumar. Melvin Dumar, you might remember, they did a movie about him called Melvin and Howard. His story is that he was driving in a truck from Utah down to Vegas, and he stopped in a small town in northern Nevada that had these brothels and stuff like that, in this little mining town, and he picked up Howard Hughes. He didn't know it was Howard Hughes, but he was old, had a beard and long hair and stuff like that. He took him in his truck, and he gave him a ride down to the Sands Hotel here in Las Vegas. And right before he got out of the truck, they were riding his truck for like 2 hours, Right after he got out of the truck, Hughes told him, "Hey, I'm Howard Hughes," and he goes, "Yeah, sure, get out of here." So after Howard Hughes' death, he gets a letter in the mail. It was a will where he was left all this money from Howard Hughes. So, he tried to collect the money way back then, but forget it, he didn't have a chance at that time. But more recently, it's kind of interesting because this retired FBI agent wrote a book, and he actually investigated this, and he came up with some really interesting evidence that it really was Howard Hughes that was in the truck with him that day, because Hughes had just bought some mining interests in that little mining town up there, and he used to visit the brothel up there. There was little brothels in that town, and Howard used to live in visit those brothels. And that day, there's records that Howard Hughes showed up at the Sands Hotel that day and checked into the Sands Hotel and moved back there that day. So I tell you, very interesting story, and it's a great movie. The movie about Melvin and Howard won an Academy Award. It was a really funny movie, very entertaining. So he's still alive, Melvin Dumar. This is a movie I saw when I was growing up as a kid, and now I get to meet the guy. The movie's about, and it's a funny story. It's an interesting story. I love Howard Hughes stories. Forget that. Being here in Vegas, man, you meet people every now and then who talk about. I even had an office in we had my digital forensic lab was at the on a Howard Hughes property here for a while because the security was so tight, and we had it over there. But so you hear stories here all the time about people knew Howard Hughes and people knew Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra and stuff like that, Sammy Davis Jr., Red Fox, you run into people all the time. So I love those kind of stories. I got a guy coming up, too, who's a friend of my dad's. His name is Bob Sackey. And the reason how he got famous was because he looked like Humphrey Bogart. He was a Humphrey Bogart lookalike. Yeah. So they hired him to be in the movie with Woody Allen called Play It Again, Sam. He was the understudy in there. But then they gave him another movie called The Man with Bogart's Face, and he did commercials, and he did advertisements. And he has all these great Hollywood stories, too, as well. He's a real character. And he was involved in the boxing game. He was a fight promoter. So, and he wrote this book about the fight game, and he was friends with Muhammad Ali. There's pictures of him with Muhammad Ali together and stuff like that, with the book and autographs in the book. So I knew him as a little kid, and he's my dad's friend. He has all these stories. He's like my dad's age. He's like almost 80 years old, so he's going to be fun to have on. I just had on, I don't know if you're a boxing fan, but referee Richard Steele.
I've never seen boxing, but I am going to see a boxing movie today. So.
Oh, which one? That one with the Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, he's right now in my top 10 favorite actors. The dude was awesome in Nightcrawler. If you saw that last year. No,
I didn't. Unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to get down to the movies that much lately. But I used to be a huge boxing fan. And Richard Steele, he's here from Vegas, and he's retired now. He's really old. But I interviewed him in the members section, and it's kind of interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, and he knew guys like Joe Louis and Sugar Ray, not Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, the first Sugar Ray. And I didn't even expect him to know guys from that far back. But it's a really interesting interview, if you can read between the lines, because he has this boxing club here. It's like a boys' club. It's a charitable foundation kind of thing, community group. And it survives on donations. So he gets a lot of donations from guys in the boxing business out here. But when I would ask him questions, because I know a lot of stuff, the dirt behind the scenes in boxing. I know a lot of stuff. And I would kind of I had to play it cool as like a mainstream kind of interview, So I had to play it cool. But every now and then I would slip in these little questions. And you could just tell by the way he laughs that that what I'm telling him, the answer is, yeah, it's true. But he couldn't come out and say that because he has to still support boxing and Don King and all these guys, So it was...
Boxing's, it's probably more real than wrestling.
No, it's really corrupt, and nowadays...
Yeah, I buy that every sport is corrupt.
Yeah, I guess nowadays it really is, yeah. But boxing was probably the worst, and it always was.
Have you ever did you work on the FIFA thing?
No, not at all. No, not at all. I don't like soccer. Soccer's not even a real sport. Fuck them. Oops, sorry.
My mom's, I guess now she is, her husband loves soccer
Oh, really?
so much. He coaches soccer. He when soccer's on, you know it because he's loud.
Oh, well, great. They can go dress shopping together.
Oh man,
Nah, soccer's not a real sport. Yeah, listen.
I'm gonna have to show this. I'm gonna have to send him this show.
Yeah,
At least that part of it.
yeah, I'm no soccer fan. I'm an old guy. But it's kind of funny because we were talking about back, especially when Larry Holmes was the champ. They'd be boxing in the ring, and you would hear Larry Holmes talking to the other boxer. He would be like negotiating with him in the clinch, negotiating the payoff and stuff like that. And I brought that up because everybody used to talk about it, and I brought that up to him, and he couldn't say, "Oh yeah, it happens," but he was laughing about it because he knew the stories as well as I did. Oh my God. So what do you want to do now? You're going to use this show because I was talking while you were gone, and you can use all that content if you want. We got 2 hours. It'll be 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Okay.
What do you want to go
Can
first? I can stay for 8 minutes, sure.
Can you send it to me when we're
sure.
done?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. Sure, we got my commercials there and everything. Oh, no, you weren't recording when you left?
I hope you weren't saying anything good.
I said some good stuff. I told a little story about Stu Webb because, like I said, I'm doing these series of shows about Ted Gunderson, and I'm interviewing this guy, Doug Millar, who worked with Ted Gunderson and lived with Ted Gunderson. And he tells this story that's so hysterical. He says, that Gunderson and Stu Webb had a falling out. So Stu Webb was living there, too, in his apartment, his condo in Vegas, and he kicks him out. And he says, well, Stu Webb, he's so wiry that he comes back and he climbs up through the fire escape, through the terrace. And it's a crazy story. He says, and he gets in, and there was another woman who was living there too, and Stu tricked her and got her over by the front door, and then he pushed her out and locked the door. And he says, and then Stu took 30 boxes of Ted's records and he carried them out and somehow got him down off the terrace. Who the hell knows, right? But the thing is, you're hearing these stories. It's just, the guy had a circus going on, and this guy, what kind of PI was this guy? You have to protect your records and your files and computer access. You can't just let crazy people sleeping on your couch and stealing your files.
Well, I guess if you're him, you can.
Who knows, man? Who knows?
Did you tell them the shake and wake stories?
Yeah, I did. I mentioned that. I mentioned how I was on Shake and Wake and I interviewed Stu Webb over there, but I didn't mention about how you and me had the same problem over there with Rick chiming in to sing on our shows, and we both had to quit.
I never officially quit. I just stopped talking to them, and they blocked me.
You know what? Pretty much the same thing happened to me when I was doing that show that night. Because I had real guest book, it was a real show.
Hey.
No, I wasn't saying that. I'm just saying that, I had a real show planned out that night. I had another guest about to come on.
I had a plan too, and Rick just screwed it up.
Yeah, I know, and he doesn't understand. But so I just
he acts like he's doing you a favor.
Yeah, so I just dropped him. I dropped his feed. And he got all freaked out about it. So I just never talked to him after that. Because then he started bugging us after that, too. He started telling me he wanted an exclusive. He wanted to play my show exclusively. I had to drop all my other stations to be on Shaking Away. Like, what? I got my own stations. I'm on iHeart. I'm going to drop everything to be over there? It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, he tried to tell me I could only have guests he approved.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But you know what,
man?
Listen, they're nice people,
and
I'm sure they'd be a lot of fun if you went down to Florida. You hang out with them.
Bill Samsel would say otherwise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bill said he came down there and he's stuck down there now, but he doesn't live with them anymore.
Boy. Yeah, man.
He's living in his RV because he couldn't stand it.
Oh, really?
He's the guy who got me the Revolution Radio gig.
Oh, really? Really? Okay.
Yeah, because he went back there after he dropped Rick and Annie.
Right.
They're still advertising him.
Oh, really? Oh.
They're still advertising Bill Samsel, but Bill doesn't want anything to do with him.
Well, Rev Radio still has a link for me on their website.
I guess I still like you.
I don't know about that, but
well, they don't hate you.
Well, then I'll work on it then. How's that?
Sure.
You know, 'cause I just did a show last night that kind of mentions all that stuff about that guy over there, Weisenberg, getting busted for the child pornography. And
I think that's a fair point to make. I mean, why would they get mad about that? Didn't they swear off Weisenberg?
Well, good question. I don't know, but you don't hear them mentioning it over there. That's for sure. Not since all this. It's been kind of a. And there was another guy over there too who had a child porn problem too. That was he ran a round table. I was actually. They told me I was on with him one night on a round table, and he's from Canada. I forget his name. I forget the whole story, but he got busted for child porn too up in Canada.
Man, I'm just going to start my own network.
You know what, man? I'm heading toward that direction too.
Hey, maybe we can merge.
Well, the thing is, I really want to get away from. I was even talking about it while you were off taking your walk, your sabbatical over there.
If you really want to know.
Taking your little nap, whatever you're doing.
If you really want to know, I got a snack and I went to the bathroom.
Well, just as long as you're comfy, you know. I was going to get a haircut and a shave myself during the show, but I figured I figured someone had to be professional to finish up over here.
You're professional.
Okay. Hey, come on, are you kidding me? I'm testified.
You're professional. Yeah. Don't try that with me. Yeah, I know better.
That's part of a congressional investigation. You kidding me?
Yeah. So was the guy who told the reporter, "I'll break you like a boy."
Oh, which one? Yeah, I think so. That's the guy from Staten Island, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, you people from Staten Island are all screwed up.
You know what? Staten Island is a very strange place, and I got I'll tell you a funny story. Is Reverend Bob Levy from the Howard Stern show? Remember him? He used to do the roast over there. He's from Staten Island. He grew up in the same neighborhood as me in Great Kills. Yeah, and
man, more people from Staten Island.
Yeah, but you want to know what? Because he invited me on the show, and we did a little show together. And before the show, we were talking about Staten Island, and he brought up. He says, remember we used to have those cake parties there, and the cops would come down all the time when we would fight with the cops. And I says, you know what? I says, you're right, man. When we were in high school, almost every week, the cops would come, and we would get into a big fist fight with the cops to break up our cake party. No one got shot. Not once. No one got arrested. They would come down, they'd fight with it. I think they were stealing the beer, I think is what they were doing, and stealing our pot and stuff. But nowadays, forget it. The cops come. People get shot for looking at them wrong. You get pulled over for change in lanes, and you're dead in jail. So it's a whole different world, and just something that struck me. But listen, we're hitting 2 hours, man. You got 2 hours of content. I did fill all that time. I didn't even break anything, and you can listen to it first. I'm sure there's nothing bad on there.
Hey, you didn't break the internet. I'm proud of you.
There you go, my friend.
Ed, thank you for not only filling the 20 minutes, but for just coming on. We got to do it more often. I keep saying we have to do it more often, but we only do it like once every couple months.
No, listen, anytime, man. I love you, all right?
Yeah, tell Vic I said hi and I want to get on her new show.
We got to go out and get kicked off more stations together.
It seems to be all we do when we get on stations together.
Okay, it's all right. We've been on many stations together, but really not at the same time because only one of us is on it. All right, my friend. Hey, I love you, brother. Okay, and I'll send you this in about how do you want me to send it to you?
You can send it over Skype and I'll just download it.
You got it, my friend. God bless you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Ed.
And there's my man Dylan Wade. Okay, I love him. I love him like my own son. But don't loan him any money because forget it, you'll never see it again. Okay. You know what? Now I can say anything I want. He's going to have to use it. But anyway, we're down to the end. Oh, you know what? No, I got another minute. Oh, I could tell you stories about Dylan. We got about 30 seconds to kill. So go to OppermanReport.com and sign up to my members section. My book is called How to Succeed as a Private Investigator. You can find it at emailrevealer.com. I also do asset searches, locates, background checks. I invented a search. I was going to tell the story about how I've been catching people cheating on Ashley Madison for years, since they started. And I'm trying to get myself booked around to be on there. Anyway, we're at the end of the show. Thank you, Dylan, man. I love you, brother. Bye.